Imagine a world where peace is the default, not the exception. Picture a place where our differences are resolved with dialogue, not drones, where compassion takes precedence over conquest. Welcome to a journey into diplomacy, compassion, and global cooperation. Today, we reimagine the most urgent conflict of our time, the war between Russia and Ukraine. In 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved. Ukraine emerged as an independent, sovereign nation. But the collapse of an empire didn't mean the end of old ambitions. Beneath the surface remained imperial instincts, territorial insecurities, and a tapestry of historical wounds left unhealed. In 2014, the world watched as Russia annexed Crimea. 8 years later, a full-scale invasion engulfed Ukraine. What began as so-called military operations evolved into Europe's bloodiest war in generations, a war that demands we look beyond power and propaganda and see not just the geopolitics, but the people caught in between. To understand this human crisis, we must look deeper. First, the root causes. Russia fears NATO's eastward expansion, seeing it as a direct military threat. In turn, Ukraine's aspirations lean toward the West, seeking economic and political alignment with the EU and NATO, a course at odds with Moscow's vision of its sphere of influence. The eastern and southern regions of Ukraine are home to a large Russian-speaking population. Identity and loyalty here are complex, layered, and often manipulated for political ends. Yet, this war is bigger than two nations. It's a proxy battleground for global power rivalries, NATO vying with Russia, the United States and its allies maneuvering amidst a rising China. Energy corridors are weapons, sanctions are siege tactics, and military aid flows like a river. Even information itself has become a combat zone, fought in headlines, hashtags, and heated tweets. But let's not forget the cost. More than 14 million people are displaced, some fleeing violence across borders, many more seeking safety in their own land. Tens of thousands have lost their lives, including soldiers, civilians, and journalists committed to telling the world the truth. Cities like Mariupol, Bakhmut, and Kharkiv have suffered devastation, with families hiding in basements, children growing up to the sound of sirens. Beyond Ukraine's borders, the shockwaves travel far. Global wheat shortages raise prices and threaten food security in Africa and the Middle East. European gas costs have soared, inflation spirals, and governments channel money from health and education into military spending. The threat of nuclear escalation hangs over all of us, the highest risk since the Cuban Missile Crisis. This isn't just Russia versus Ukraine, it is war against humanity. So, what would a real, enforceable peace look like? Let's build a 10-point roadmap for diplomatic resolution, a structured plan that can transform stalemate into stability, suspicion into trust. First, start with a United Nations mandated ceasefire zone. For 90 days, the fighting stops. Ceasefire lines are monitored by a multinational team from neutral countries: Switzerland, India, Brazil, South Africa. Drones and satellites enforce transparency. Any violations trigger immediate international penalties. Second, bring the parties to the table. A bilateral peace summit hosted in a neutral city, Istanbul, Vienna, or New Delhi. Ukraine and Russia negotiate directly, with NATO observers present but non-aligned mediators holding the gavel. The agenda is pre-approved and for the first time made public for the world to see. Third, assure Ukraine's security. Russia must sign a legally binding non-aggression pact underwritten by international guarantees. In exchange, Ukraine agrees to neutrality for 20 years. No foreign bases, but with full freedom in trade and diplomacy, locking in sovereignty, not subservience. Fourth, address Crimea. Within 2 years, a United Nations supervised plebiscite allows residents, according to pre-2014 population rolls, to determine their future. Until then, a dual administrative structure operates, with a shared economic zone for tourism and trade to encourage peaceful cooperation. Fifth, decentralize power in the Donbas region. Donetsk and Luhansk gain confederated autonomy within Ukraine, governed by a joint council with equal Russian and Ukrainian representation. A wartime amnesty is offered, excluding severe human rights abuses. The aim, healing, not hatred. Sixth, create a demilitarized buffer. Along key flashpoints, both sides withdraw large forces, forming a 50-kilometer corridor. Joint patrols by international peacekeepers keep the peace. Long-range missiles are removed, reducing the risk of sudden escalation. Seventh, rebuild trade together. Russian gas resumes flowing through Ukraine, with payments managed through an internationally supervised escrow. Ukrainian grain shipments are protected by secured sea routes. A Russia-Ukraine-EU reconstruction fund worth $150 billion is established for mutual recovery. Eighth, compensate the victims. A joint tribunal assesses civilian losses managed by the Red Cross and World Bank. This fund aids war widows, facilitates rebuilding schools, and ensures the safe repatriation of prisoners of war. Justice and humanity are no longer afterthoughts. They are the guiding principles. Ninth, invest in cultural reconciliation. Form a committee with equal Ukrainian and Russian voices to preserve cultural sites, guarantee language rights, and launch educational exchanges. Media partnerships foster understanding, while a Healing History Museum network tells the full shared story. 10th, institutionalize peace. A permanent council composed of Ukraine, Russia, and neutral states meets twice a year to review disputes. Funded by both nations, it invites public participation, replacing closed-door diplomacy with structured, ongoing dialogue. Now imagine the future if we chose this path. What if the more than $300 billion spent on war was redirected? Picture Mariupol, reborn as a green, innovative city. Imagine a Russia-Ukraine Innovation Fund tackling climate change, supporting disaster relief, or funding children's mental health programs across both nations. Every tank not built is a school funded. Every missile not fired is a hospital stocked. Ahimsa, the philosophy of nonviolence, is not just an absence of conflict. It is the presence of understanding, structure, and shared responsibility. This roadmap is not perfect. No plan is. But it is possible. And possibility is the foundation for peace. This diplomatic framework is not just a theory. It is a blueprint for action. Share it, support it, and stand up for peace. Together, we can help rewrite the future. From A. Chandrasekhar, your friend from India.